I kind of can't believe how much reading I got done this month. I want to start by giving a huge thank you to my top tier Wizard Master patrons. Thank you so much, Chris, Nico, Cody, Sharon, Patrick, Leslie, Ryan, Jennifer, Jordan, Wystitch, and Reading Rainbow. Thank you all so much. Hey everyone, welcome back to Andrew's Wizard of the Reads, and as always guys, I'm Andrew, and today I got my March 2022 wrap up for you, but before we get into that, make sure you're liking and subscribing, hitting that bell notification so you can get regular updates for when I put out new content. I post every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Also make sure you're checking that description box down below for the link to the Wizardly Duo Discord, as well as links to all of my social media and information about my Patreon. And I've got a lot to talk about today, guys. It's been a very, very productive month. For starters, it is my birthday month, so I turned 32 on the 29th. I am filming this a little bit in advance because I've got a great birthday weekend planned with Nico from Nico's Book Reviews. He's coming into town, or he will have been in town, and we're just going to hit up a bunch of bookstores, record some videos, things of that nature. So it's going to be a lot of fun. That said, that's going to take up a chunk of my time, so I wanted to get the wrap-up out a little early. And I gotta say, with it being my birthday month, when I included my Amazon wishlist down in the description box, I never really thought that people would use it. And it has been really heartwarming to just constantly, every few days get a book in the mail with, a very nice note attached. And it's just been kind of it's been a very difficult month for me. A lot of stuff in my house just broke. And so getting those occasional gifts from you guys has really, really brightened a lot of my days. And I just cannot thank you enough. I will be doing a birthday book haul that should be coming out in April. You did get 2 book hauls this month. For somehow I ended up a month in the hole, and I don't know how that happened. And so, we are finally caught up. The birthday book haul will be out in April, which will cover everything from March, and a lot of the gifts from wonderful viewers like you guys, and I cannot thank you enough. That said, I have had a wild reading month full of DNFs, and then, picking up those DNFs, things of that nature. So far, I believe I've read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and some change. 15 and some change. So, and I've still got some that I'm going to be reading as the month wraps up, and then I'll mention probably in next month's wrap up. So let's start with, DNFs. So I believe this month my patrons voted on me to read Godblind by Anna Stevens. Something about that just wasn't working for me, and so I decided it was probably best that I just move on. I've been kind of riding that burnout line for a couple months now, where I've just been going super hard because I've got a kid coming in May, and I know I'm going to lose a lot of reading time, so I kind of front-loaded the first half of the year, which has kind of been leading to me towing that burnout line. And so I'm much more likely to DNF. And so because I just wasn't vibing with it, I just decided to put it away, move on. I've got plenty to read that is going to excite me more. I've also DNF'd the Green Rider series. I was going to read High King's Tomb. I was initially going to read this because Fina from Fina Reads, one of my patrons, is hosting a read-along in her Discord for this, and like I said, I've been writing that burnout line, and the first Writer's Call, which is the second book, just really didn't do it for it. I was so let down by that book, and now I'm kind of scared to continue the series, and so I just decided to move on. So this one did not end up getting read this month. Another one that I decided to move on from, not because it was bad, it just wasn't exciting me, and that was Providence of Fire by Brian Staveley. It's a good book. I like the Emperor's Blades. It was not as bad as a lot of people have recently said it was. It did have some flaws. It was a debut novel, and I really, really liked the Emperor's Blades. But due to the way the structure kind of changed on the story, the story elements just weren't working for me quite as well within Providence of Fire. And so I think I'm going to move on from this series just because I got about 100 pages into this and I felt zero excitement for what was going on. Like, it was just 100 pages of this exists. And I've heard, like, this part, you know, back here gets a lot better, but I've still got to read a whole bunch of stuff that I'm not enjoying. And so for that reason, I think I'm going to move on from the Chronicles of the Unhewn Throne as well. And then I did read a significant amount of self-pub this month as well. And we've got ratings. We've got a lot of 5-star ratings this month. I didn't break them or separate them into categories. In fact, let's just do a jump cut where I've already done that. All right, so I've kind of separated everything into their own separate piles. So far, I've got 1 sub 3-star book. I've got 4 3-star books. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 4-star books, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 5-star books, and then 3 that I have yet to start. 1 is a reread, so I mean it's gonna be a 5-star read, so we can include that in the 5-star reads because I already know I love it. I've read this book 6 times. I'm not expecting that to change. And then probably 2 potential, 1 potential 5 and 1 potential 4. So let's start with the sub 3-star books. And for me, I'm going to take a break on this series, guys, because I'm always entertained. But Cibola Burn, which is the 4th book in The Expanse, like, as entertaining as this is, like, it's the only thing keeping me going is the entertainment value. But, like, from story and character elements, like, your antagonists just do dumb crap constantly. They are dumb. They work against their own best interests. And then, like, just loopholes. Like, people don't think like this. And I don't care how far into the future you go. It doesn't make sense. I had the same problem in, I think, what's the 3rd one called? Abaddon's Gate. Abaddon's Gate. Sorry, it's Abaddon's Gate. I always want to say Abaddon, but it's Abaddon's Gate. I had the same issue. So I was going to read Nemesis Games in May, but I think I'm just going to wait a little bit until I'm ready to forgive this book. Like, it was entertaining, and I would recommend, if you're looking for, like, a popcorn blockbuster, absolutely. If you're looking for a polished story, The Expanse so far, 4 books in, is just not it. It's still got dialogue issues. It's got logic loopholes. It's got flawed character work. And I don't really have a whole lot nice to say about The Expanse, other than it's really entertaining and they're really quick and easy to get through. So that said, we can get into our 3-star books. And I've got a nice little stack right here. So, let's talk about Blood of the Dragons. I am anticipating sometime in April, hopefully, of doing a live show on the Rainwild Chronicles with Stephanie's book first, Derry's read it before, and Nico from Nico's Book Reviews. We are going to talk the entirety of the good and the bad of the Rainwild Chronicles. That said, I think that the story ended really well, but this did not need to be 4 books. In fact, this could have easily been a duology or one very, very long book. Easily one very, very long book. Like, if you'd have given me a 900-page Rainwild book, I think it would have been absolutely phenomenal. You didn't. You stretched the story. You know kind of what happened with the Hobbit movies? That's the Rainwild Chronicles. Like, I felt like Harper Voyager or whoever ordered these books from Robin Hobb saw she had a brief kind of outline and was like, hey, we're going to need you to make that like 2,000 pages. And she was like, I'll see what I can do. And that's kind of what this is. There's just so much angst. It just doesn't work. And frankly, like, a lot of people say, I've heard a lot of people say, like, you get a lot of the information on the Elderlings, and it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense. Like, elements are just injected. Oh, all of a sudden this is important, where we haven't mentioned it at all in any other books. But now it's important. We're going to focus on it because this is important lore. But if it was important lore, it would have been referenced to a lot earlier as more important, and instead of just shoot in. So, honestly, I think if you're really wanting to read The Realm of the Elderlings, you can skip Rainwild if it's not your cup of tea. I did not enjoy it. And then I finally read Of Blood and Fire, the first book in the Bound of the Broken. This was one of those gifts that I was mentioning earlier from my good friend Jordan the Boiled Jellyfish. And this is a good book. This is a strong debut. I gave this one a 3.5 star, mainly because I enjoyed Aragon in high school, but like it's never something I've wanted to reread again. And my buddy Patrick Ryan, who's also one of my patrons and a mod in my Discord, you should definitely check out his channel because he did an awesome review for this. I'll link it up in the cards because I'm not going to be doing a dedicated review, and I think you should check his out. But basically, he said that this was like if John Gwynne went back and rewrote Aragon. It's cool. We've got some great friends here in Callan, Rist, and Dan, but it's just... There's like a one POV that kind of appears throughout this story that I'm just like, I don't understand what you're doing. And so I hope that pays off later in the second book. I think this was a strong debut. I did also read the novella, which is in the 4-star pile. So that shows that this author is improving because the novella, which is a prequel, came out after the first book. So if he keeps this upward projected kind of improvement, I think Ryan Cahill could easily become a powerhouse in the fantasy genre. And then we've got Daniel T. Jackson's Illborn. I did a dedicated review for this. This was the birthday buddy read in the Wizardly Duo Discord. This one was either you loved it, you hated it, and then there was me. I kind of fell in the middle. It was a kind of a 3.5, 3.25. I thought it was a good debut, but I think this is a very, very bloated story. And I go into my deeper reasonings within the review, which I'll again link up in the cards. So check that out to get my full thoughts on Illborn. And then I also took a review copy of The Blood of the Outcast by D.A. Smith. This is kind of a Japanese Ronin revenge story where it takes like a lot of the Japanese lore with the Oni and the gods and things of that nature and makes it more realistic. This story is brutal. This is along the lines of like Poppy War and Rage of Dragons. I gave this one 3 stars. My main drawbacks on this were like everybody's very hot-headed in this, which in my own personal mind isn't quite how the Japanese culture is. Like not 100% of the time. You know, like everybody's constantly like 1 second away from punching you in the mouth if you say one thing wrong. Additionally, the protagonist is a rage monster, which if that's your thing, you're gonna love this. This does have great combat scenes where like it focuses on the footwork and dodging and things of that nature. So there's a lot to love here. It just, the first person POV didn't quite land with me because I don't always identify with the very, very angry protagonist, but I do know a lot of readers love that. So if you're looking for that in a Japanese setting, make sure to check out Blood of the Outcast by D.A. Smith. I will go ahead and link my Goodreads review in the description box down below so you can check that out. Yes, I enjoyed this one. So I believe it is going to be a trilogy. Okay, so that's 3 stars. Alright, so my 4-star reads. We have got The Last Watch by J.S. Duez. And I don't know why I said your last name like that. I'm so sorry. This is a sci-fi book that kind of takes the dregs of humanity or the military outcasts and sends them to patrol the edge of the universe. There was this war hundreds of years ago where they beat back this alien civilization, and then just sci-fi shenanigans start happening. This is a good one. I actually really, really liked the protagonist in this. We've got Adequin Rake, and then what's his name? I think it's Cavalon. I thought Cavalon was a lot of fun in this. Cavalon kind of was able to use his ignorance or his kind of hoity-toityness, we're going to go with that, to really inject a little bit of humor and a little bit of sarcasm into these dense, dark, kind of hard-hitting moments and really break it up and push me through the story. I really enjoyed this. This was a strong debut from this author, and I believe I'm reading the second book next month. Actually, no. Yeah, next month in April. I get confused. Did I mention The Fall by Ryan Cahill? This is a novella set in the world of The Bound and the Broken, and I believe it takes place about 400 years prior to the first book. And here we kind of just follow, it's kind of warring factions type of deal. I don't really want to spoil it, but like we deal with what happened and how the world has gotten into the shape that it is at the beginning of the first book. Here in The Fall. This is really good. Really quick read, too. Like, I think this is only, like, sub 100 pages. Yeah, it's like, the glossary is page 88. So you can get through this really, really quickly. I love that. I also got that from The Boiled Jellyfish, so thank you so much. I then close out Breaking Chaos let's kind of show you this. I believe this is a Felix Ortiz cover. I love Felix Ortiz's covers. This is the third book in the Chasing Graves trilogy, and I thought that this was a satisfying conclusion to this series. Overall, like, I think the second book, Grim Solace, is my favorite, but Breaking Chaos was a lot of fun. I love Pointy as a character. We get a lot more of Coltro in this book, and how everything just kind of comes together is really, really interesting. Where the story ends up is really, really interesting. And it definitely surprised me. It took some turns I wasn't expecting. So I'm really, really glad I read this dark fantasy series. This is really good. This is a 4-star read. I also wrapped up the Lycanius trilogy by James Islington. Guys, this is some of the most complex fantasy I think I've ever read, but one I'm really excited to reread in a couple years. This is one I think that you just get more and more and more out of it the more you read it, and there's just so much to love here because, honestly, we spent a lot of time just referencing like what happened in the previous books and then tying it in to the kind of the end game here. I did think the end was a bit not only predictable, but also it didn't end where I thought it was going to end. So I think the ending could have used like an additional, the epilogue could have probably used an additional 20 pages, I think. Overall, though, 4 out of 5. I may be doing a discussion on this with Abby Salter, so I will let you know to see what progresses from that, because I know she just recently wrapped this one up as well. My last 4-star read is The River of Blue Fire. And yeah, I've still got my bookmark in this one. Otherland, Tad Williams. I love this cover. Look at this cover. I believe this is a Michael Whalen one. But this is so good. It's definitely a structure change, again, because the story elements have changed. Tad Williams had to manipulate the structure here. And it gets really, really interesting because we start taking like twists on like Wizard of Oz or Alice in Wonderland and things of that nature. And it starts putting this kind of VR twisted dark twist of twistiness. I'm just going to say twisty as much as I possibly can. And it's just so interesting. I love the way Tad Williams does this kind of VR dystopian sci-fi. And really, what we kind of start exploring in here is the character interactions and the further development of the relationships, the constant struggle of just the confusion on what's happened to them and how they are dealing with it. Guys, if you're not reading Otherland, or if you've just heard, it's not that good. It's intricate and it's complex. It's weird, but I like it. Like, if you like Dark Tower, I think you're gonna like Otherland. Just because it's got that kind of strange factor to it. It's really good. Alright, so that leaves our 5 stars and then what I have left to read. The 5-star reads, of course, I've got so many of these. One's a 4.5 star, but it's going to be included in the 5-star range. And that's A Plague of Giants by Kevin Hearn. This is 4.5 stars, mainly because like sometimes I feel like the humor in this is just a hair out of place. I do have a review for this coming out here shortly. It is filmed. I just need to get it edited and reviewed and available to you all. This is the first book in the 7 Kennings. It's got kind of a weird structure. But one of the things I love about this is the dramatis personae, where like everybody's got their own little portrait and like a brief description, so you know what they're looking like and things of that nature. You don't really have to use your theater of the mind. But what's cool about this is the structure, like I said earlier, where it's like a chronicler retelling the story of a bard who is telling you the story of other people's, which is then being chronicled by that chronicler, if that made sense at all. It's a lot of fun. It's deceptively long. This took me 8 days to read. This is 722 pages. Look at that. You don't think that that's 722 pages. I would picture 722 like something like that thick. So this uses really fine paper. I think the hardcover is like 600 something pages. I don't know. It was great. If you're not reading Kevin Hearn, you definitely should be. I have rediscovered my love of this author very, very recently since reading this. So I'm hoping to go back, finish up The Iron Druid. I know that a lot of people don't like the ending. I am forewarned and forearmed. I can temper expectations. We've then got 2 Stephen King books. We've got 11/22/63, which I buddy read with Sarah from Sarah Reads. And we've got The Wastelands, which I kind of buddy read this a little bit in Mike's Discord. There's a buddy read being hosted by Scott, the Bald Booktuber. You should check out his channel. It's a lot of fun. And yeah, like, I am absolutely loving being back in the Dark Tower. The last 2 Dark Tower books have been 5 stars. And I've heard from my friend Joanna that Wizard in Glass is, I think she said that was one of her favorites. And so I'm just absolutely looking forward to this. I know Philip Chase really likes Dark Tower. I am shocked I didn't finish this series as a teenager. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's got a proper bit of weird. And there's like one scene in here where I'm like, okay, like, somebody let Stephen King off of his leash a little bit. But yeah, this one's a lot of fun. And then 11/22/63 was just, in my opinion, I know I had heard that the middle got a little long in the tooth. I loved it. I loved everything about this book. This book was pretty much flawless to me. And there's some like Easter eggs in here that tie into other books. This is very much a multiverse book. And I just loved everything about this story. So yes, there's that one. And then our final 2 5 stars are Quest for Lost Heroes by David Gemmell. This is the 4th in, I believe, publication order of the Draenei books. I love this. Like, each single Draenei book has gotten better and better and better and better. Like, the progression is consistent. And I love it. I absolutely love this. This one is, by far, the best in the Draenei series so far, which makes me so excited to continue this series, which I should be doing, I think, in May. And then, of course, Weird Sisters, Terry Pratchett. I have been loving the Witches books. These are so fun. They're so interesting. I love a good time travel element in my fantasy. I pretty much loved everything about this one. So far, I would say the Witches sub-series is probably a close second favorite in the Discworld books, and I don't think that's going to change. I really don't. Like, these are such a delight. I just love Nanny Ogg and Granny Weatherwax, and it's just, so good. Alright, so I still have these to read, but these won't take me a whole lot of time. I've got The Price of Spring, which is the second half of this book, that I still need to read at the time of filming. This should be like a day and a half for me to read. I don't foresee any problems in finishing this one. And I kind of wanted to save this one for the very end, because we're going to be doing a full spoiler discussion on Philip Chase's channel sometime in April. And that'll be Alan, Zara, Sarah, me, and Nico. And that's going to be on Philip's channel, so you can definitely look forward to that. I will link the spoiler discussion that we did for An Autumn War up in the cards, so you can check that out if you haven't seen it already. It was a lot of fun. And then I've got A Touch of Light by Tiago Abdallah still to read. I am currently 75% through the, I'm 80% at the time of recording through An End to Sorrow, which is the 3rd Michael R. Fletcher book on the Obsidian Path. I got an arc from that from Mark from Slowly Read this month, and I will be finishing that up tonight. And I don't foresee that being anything less than a 4.5 to 5 star read. And then, of course, I've read this like 5 or 6 times. I've got The Great Hunt by Robert Jordan. I don't foresee this being anything less than a 5-star read, and I should have no problems wrapping that up. So that said, guys, that is everything that I have read or will have read in the month of March 2022. I know I've been talking a long time, but I do appreciate y'all sticking by and just hanging out with me. So let me know in the comments down below how your March went. How many books did you read? Please let me know in the comments down below. And as always, guys, till next time, peace out, stay magical, bye. And as always, I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons.